Hello and welcome to CTV News Across Canada for Wednesday, May 14th. We've got the top local stories from coast to coast, stories that affect you and the country. Thanks for joining us.
Prime Minister Carney introduced his team of lieutenants Tuesday, chosen to battle Trump and the economy. 28 ministers and 10 secretaries of state.
Canadians elected this new government with a strong mandate to define a new economic and security relationship with the United States and to build a stronger economy.
It features 24 fresh faces, including 15 rookie ministers and 9 newbies in Secretary of State roles, as Carney seeks separation from his predecessor, Justin Trudeau.
This cabinet is smaller and more focused than those of previous governments.
Unlike Trudeau's cabinets, there's a second tier, the junior Secretary of State roles.
It distinguishes him from his immediate predecessor, and it also allows him to have that regional representation.
There are an equal number of men and women, and there remain familiar faces. Chrystia Freeland keeps her pre-election post as Transport Minister. François-Philippe Champagne remains in Finance. Melanie Joly is shuffled from Foreign Affairs to Industry Minister, replaced by Anita Anand. Sean Fraser, former Housing Minister, is now the Attorney General. And Dominic LeBlanc remains a key figure in charge of intergovernmental affairs and U.S. trade relations.
The title of his job doesn't sound very powerful, but it's such a high priority for Mr. Carney, and he's really kind of made that, really stressed that quite high. So he'll be very prominent.
BC has a total of 5 members in cabinet, just 2 of the ministers. Gone altogether, former Energy Minister, North Vancouver's Jonathan Wilkinson.
It was surprising, too, that we didn't see additional representation from some of those battleground regions in the province that were so crucial to the Liberals' victory.
Chosen from BC, former Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson appointed housing and infrastructure, and Delta MP Jill McKnight lands in veteran affairs.
Of interest to Mr. Carney was her business background. She was the executive director of the Delta Chamber of Commerce.
The 3 secretaries of state from BC are Kelowna MP Stephen Fuhr in defense procurement, Esquimalt Saanich Sooke Stephanie McLean, Secretary of State for Seniors, and Surrey Centre's Randeep Sarah is international development.
Having 2 ministers south of the Fraser will help address many of the challenges we have.
Despite 24 fresh faces, the new cabinet is too much like the old one for Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre.
He appointed Trudeau's old team and Trudeau's old advisors.
Carney's cabinet will commence battle in earnest on May 26th with the return of Parliament.
The Prime Minister has appointed someone he knows and that he trusts.
Ontario MP Tim Hodgson is Prime Minister Mark Carney's pick for Energy and Natural Resources Minister.
The ministry has also changed. It was Natural Resources Canada under Justin Trudeau. Now it's Energy and Natural Resources. So the prominent place of energy in that title, I think, is significant.
Hodgson is the former CEO of Goldman Sachs Canada and was once an advisor to Carney when he was governor of the central bank.
He's going to be, if not overtly friendly to the industry, certainly understands it very well from a financial perspective. That doesn't mean to say he'll be able to give the oil and gas sector everything it wants, but he will know their problems.
The choice has his Alberta counterpart hopeful.
I think we're going to have a reset on our relationship with Ottawa, and I'm optimistic about the future.
But the Premier took aim at another appointee, Carney's new Environment Minister, which Danielle Smith is calling a step in the wrong direction, adding we are being forced to contend with yet another keep-it-in-the-ground Environment Minister.
I would suggest there are some significant red flags there, although we are working to reset the relationship with this federal cabinet.
And Jacqueline joins us now. So, Jackie, what are some industry leaders saying tonight?
Yes, Tara. So the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers and the Canadian Association of Energy Contractors, they both tell me that they're cautiously optimistic about Mark Carney's plan to make Canada an energy superpower once again. They're also hopeful that this new minister will make that happen. CAP saying that they are excited that the energy is part of a national conversation once again, and they hope that this provides an opportunity for a reset and improved relationships. And speaking of relationship. Several ministers say that they do plan to meet with their federal counterparts in the coming weeks. Mark Carney also planning to meet with the premiers June 2nd. Tara?
Okay, Jackie, thank you.
I was awakened with this huge thud and then all this glass breaking.
Shirley McKay is cleaning up what's left of a terrifying wake-up call.
Here are the rocks that were thrown into the glass.
Chunks of asphalt thrown at her living room window while she slept last week.
It was very scary, and there were apparently, I've heard from friends that there was lots of activity on the street that night.
From vandalism to car break-ins and theft, people in Copeland Park say this isn't new, it's just getting worse.
It's pretty much every second night there's somebody checking doors. So yeah, it's been ridiculous.
Home surveillance like this prompting tighter security measures. And for Ken Burke, it meant locking his shed for the first time.
They never locked them before. I've seen them look from my camera. I've seen them looking around the backyard.
You can see the individual walks across the lawn, walks behind the car, tries the door.
Down the street, Adam Laverne caught this individual casing the street and checking his vehicle.
It's been an ongoing issue. So a couple months ago, I had my coffee change stolen from the car.
Residents are sharing stories and in some cases even tracing the path of a suspected prowler. This map circulating the local Facebook group appears to chart the suspect's path. And with residents on high alert, Councillor Lane Johnson says she's requested more police in the area.
We've made that request, whether or not there could be some proactive patrols done overnight in some of these areas to try and deter that kind of behavior.
But for McKay, the damage is already done and the cleanup underway. Police were not available for an interview today, but say even if nothing is stolen, you should still report it so the activity can be tracked for trends and patterns. Katie?
CTV's Caitlin Wilson reporting live for us tonight. Thank you, Caitlin.
Viewer video shows flames shooting from the roofs of these homes on Bathurst near Richmond. Smoke billowing through the night sky as fire crews tackled the 3-alarm blaze.
Couldn't see 20 meters ahead of me because of all the smoke. It's crazy. And then all the buildings around us, including mine, our alarms started going off, so we had to evacuate.
Emergency crews got the call around 10:30 p.m. and when they arrived, they found 3 homes on fire.
It originated in one unit and spread to 2 more. But crews were managed to get it under control quite quickly.
Not a moment too soon, say area residents.
Very scary. It went up until almost 2 o'clock in the morning. And on top of that, the smoke triggered the alarm system in my building. So everybody was on the balconies.
It was really intense all night. Like I was debating going to a friend's house. I have a dog. I was just like worried about our health. And yeah, it seemed like a really big fire. I saw a lot.
One of the home's roofs would eventually collapse, but no residents were injured. Toronto Fire says only one of the homes was actually occupied.
Most of them were uninhabited.
The lot next to the affected units is empty. And CTV News has learned an application was made in 2021 to partially demolish 1 unit south of the buildings that caught fire, as well as all 7 of the homes to the north of the blaze.
The whole block was supposed to be developed into a condo.
I know these houses, they wanted to build a condo here.
The original application was, in fact, for a 12-story office building with retail space. The buildings involved in last night's fire, however, were not included in this application.
Very ambivalent about it, very scared.
While area residents speculate about a cause, fire crews have not called this fire suspicious.
At this point, our initial crews haven't determined cause, and our investigator will determine that.
One firefighter sustained minor injuries and was taken to hospital, but has since been released. The fire marshal's office is now investigating the cause of the blaze. Toronto Fire now says these homes are completely uninhabitable, with damage estimated to be in the millions. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice.
A planned retooling of Honda's Alliston plant with electric vehicle battery plant nearby, and the expansion of 2 critical battery parts facilities in Ontario, all officially on the shelf as the Japanese auto manufacturer tries to steer through financial strain felt globally by the auto industry.
In North America, the EV market growth is slowing down,
And so as of now, we think that we should postpone for at least 22 years. This has been decided.
The company projecting a 70% decline in its net profits over the next fiscal year, a grim but realistic projection that Honda officials attribute in part to U.S. tariffs on the auto sector. The company says the 2-year hiatus for its EV project in Canada will not lead to a reduction in jobs at its Alliston plant, but as the region's largest employer, new Tecumseh's mayor disappointed by the delay.
We were looking forward to it coming, absolutely. We've been working collaboratively together with Honda. Initially
intended to be operational by 2028, the plant expansion would add an additional 1,000 jobs and create thousands more indirectly through the supply chain. But for the over 4,000 workers currently at its Alliston plant, Norcross is encouraged by the future.
We have a great workforce. They do a great job. They're very, very productive. And Honda's got over 40 years invested in new Tecumseh. That's not a relationship I can see anybody walking away from.
And walking away from its investment, the last thing the province wants to do.
They said they're going to continue moving on with the expansion.
Committing to $2.5 million in direct and indirect funding alongside an additional $2.5 million in tax credits from Ottawa. But as market conditions change, so too might Honda's direction.
What happens after 2 years and the starting time of the project, we have to observe what is happening and ultimately make the decision.
We're going to hold them accountable, each auto manufacturer, anything that we've given them, we're going to make sure that they're held accountable and they continue manufacturing automobiles right here in Ontario.
These are dedicated Albertans on the front lines of crucial government services to the people of the province. They make the government look good.
After more than a year of contract negotiations, the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees says a provincial workers' strike is now on the table. Alberta sheriffs, peace officers, caregivers for seniors and children with disabilities, engineers and wildland firefighters, just some of the positions that could walk off the job later this summer.
We know that they use the food bank. We know that they use have to access multiple jobs. We know many of them are single parents and they're struggling.
The province offered workers an 11.5% wage increase over 4 years. The union is asking for a 24% raise over that same time, similar to what Alberta nurses recently negotiated. Alberta's finance minister is not surprised by the vote results.
If they're serious about coming back to the table, we'll be there.
Many of these workers are essential workers. I don't understand why the government wouldn't be willing to sit down and bargain fairly with them.
The strike vote comes at the beginning of Alberta's wildfire season. The union president says that many summer services, including the province's fire response, would be affected.
It would have impact on services, and it would rely upon the non-union staff, the managers, to actually provide a lot of those services as well.
The province says contingency plans are in place if the strike goes ahead, but wants a contract settlement before it gets to that point.
Our focus is just ensuring these people have, a fair deal, looking at the market evidence.
I think we have a good working relationship with the other side of the table. At least I'd like to think so.
The AUPE says it also believes a deal can be reached. The strike vote can be used within the next 120 days with 72 hours notice. Connor Hogg, CTV News, Edmonton.
Bullet holes line the front entrance of this Brantford business. Traces of an early morning shooting that's left residents on edge.
Around 2 a.m., 3 a.m. last night, sounded like 5 or 6 gunshots.
One man who didn't want to be identified out of fear for his safety lives in the apartment above Fun Guys, an illegal magic mushroom shop.
Earlier this morning, we came out and did shell casings out here.
Brantford police say they were called to the shop near Murray and Chatham Streets around 2 o'clock this morning and found evidence of gunfire in the area.
I think it's totally crazy. I don't like it really, but it's crazy. It's scary.
Peter Gorey lives next door. While he claims he didn't hear anything, he says he isn't surprised.
There's a lot of stuff. You see people going all hours of the night, running and they're up to something.
CTV News spoke to the store manager, who confirmed no one was inside at the time of the shooting. We have been in Brantford almost a year now, the manager says. We haven't had any issues, no upset customers. Everyone loves us there. However, the manager also admits this wasn't the first incident. Neighbors say they've noticed a rise in activity around the store.
2-3 months ago, there was the front door got broken, and I don't know what happened there, but yeah. in the middle of the night.
Police wouldn't say whether the latest incident was targeted.
Other than the fact that it's like an illegal business, that's the only thing that I could think of as why someone would shoot around here.
But the store manager says the shooting won't keep them from opening as soon as possible. Fun Guys expects to reopen tomorrow. Police say the investigation is still in its early stages. Anyone with information or video surveillance footage is asked to contact Brantford Police or Crime Stoppers. Tony?
All right, CTV's Alexandra Hollick with the latest. Thank you, Alexandra.
The daughter of Ljubica Milicevic says she still can't believe her mother is gone.
When it happened so suddenly, and it's like just a Saturday afternoon, we were looking forward to having cake the next day for Mother's Day.
But even more shocking is the way she died. Milicevic was standing at this bus stop Saturday afternoon at the corner of Queen Mary Road and McDonald Avenue when a branch fell and hit her. She suffered a serious head injury and died the next day. Today, there is little evidence of the tragedy. The remainder of the branch has been cut, but there are still questions about how such an accident could happen.
Something must have been rotting. A tree doesn't just fall like that. The weather was fine that day.
The tree is the property of the city of Côte Saint-Luc. In a statement, a spokesperson writes it has an inventory of its public trees and inspects them as part of its regular maintenance schedule, including the tree in question. They add they are cooperating with the investigation in progress. Côte Saint-Luc Mayor Mitchell Brownstein refused to give an interview about the tree, but at Monday's council meeting, he paid tribute to Milicevic.
She was a librarian at the Solomon Schechter Academy, a French librarian, 76 years old. And she was a writer of several books. And it's a great loss to the community, and we send our deepest condolences.
A Quebec coroner has opened an investigation into Milicevic's death. Meanwhile, her family is looking for ways to honor her and finish the work she started. That means completing her 4th book and sharing her story with others.
I would like my mother's death to have some value, and if just people could read a book or think more before they speak on social media, have more thought and compassion in the world. That would be really important to her.
Denise Roberts, CTV News.
How long was that? They keep the teeth in.
This is 96-year-old William Hasty. His granddaughter, Ashley Benson Bonneville, says on the morning of February 4th, she received a call that he unexpectedly died. Benson Bonneville says the coroner's report shows Hasty's cause of death was a heart attack caused by hypothermia.
My grandpa paid money to live in a care home where he should have been taken care of. And instead of dying warm in his bed, he died frozen outside.
The government of Saskatchewan's website says care homes are typically inspected annually. It shows Northern Lights Care Home, where Hasty was living, hadn't been inspected for 3.5 years. Its last inspection was in March, a month after Hasty died. Before that, it was inspected in July of 2021. The report citing several health and safety violations related to sanitation of bathrooms, infection control, and how medication is administered. Seniors critic Keith Jorgensen says the NDP wrote a letter to the provincial government last July expressing concerns over the Northern Lights Care Home.
The government has not been doing assessments of patients in personal care homes as required by law.
Minister of Seniors Laurie Carr says she hasn't seen the letter because she wasn't the minister at the time, but says she takes the concerns seriously. She says the coroner's office is investigating Hasty's case and the ministry is awaiting the final report.
And we will continue to look into what happened and take action appropriate.
Carr says all care homes in the province currently have an up-to-date review. As for Benson Bonneville, she says safety standards for private care homes need to be enforced to prevent deaths like this from happening again.
Nothing can change what happened to my grandpa, but I really hope going forward that there could be changes made so no other family has to deal with this.
CTV News reached out to Northern Lights Care Home but did not get our questions answered. It previously told us Hasty was out on a walk when he slipped on ice. Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Nova Scotia is lifting 2 long-standing seafood bans on buying and processing licenses, a move to help expand seafood exports and grow the vital seafood industry here.
There was a lot of discussion 2 years ago about flipping a switch and lifting the moratorium, and that led to some industry concerns.
For the province, the time now seems right to lift the moratorium. Part of that is the global economic uncertainty caused by the threat of possible U.S. tariffs and those tariffs from China on seafood exports from here. While China has an appetite for live lobster, other markets like those being explored in Europe have different tastes.
There's other parts of the world they'd like something fresh frozen or slightly processed, and we have a limited amount of processors in this province, and people weren't able to get new processing licenses, so we've made it a little easier to help with that market.
Nova Scotia is lifting the moratorium on general seafood buyer and processing licenses in August, and will do the same for lobster buying and snow crab buying and processing licenses in January. Nova Scotia seafood exports accounted for $2.4 billion in exports last year. Some in the industry and the province agree the moratorium was standing in the way of growing the sector and expanding to new markets.
There's many different species of wild fish and seafood that we land here, and each one of those can be turned into a myriad of different products. So it really is the question of what is the market actually demanding.
There is concern that issuing new licenses could open the door to foreign takeover in an industry that supports 20,000 jobs, mostly in rural regions here. The province insists there's safeguards in place.
We will ensure that our business plans have safeguards in there to protect Nova Scotians and protect our economy.
Premier Tim Houston was in Spain recently with a Nova Scotia delegation to attend a seafood expo, trying to reel in new international buyers. Jesse Thomas, CTV News.
A May 6 order from the Toronto Superior Court of Justice placed Aspire Food Group in the hands of receiver FTI Consulting Canada. The decision was based on a filing from Farm Credit Canada, a Crown corporation which reported Aspire had debts of more than $41 million. But one agri-food expert doesn't think this needs to be the end of Aspire.
I think this plant needs to survive because there is potential there. You can actually do a lot of things with crickets.
Professor Sylvain Charlebois is director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University and co-host of the Food Professor podcast. He feels there is a market for cricket proteins.
You can actually do a lot of things with crickets. You can actually produce fertilizer for lawns, for plants, and obviously I'm thinking about the food supply chain and producing nutrients and feed for livestock in particular.
Aspire was formed by 5 McGill University students in 2013. They won a prize of $1 million US awarded for business ideas that solve pressing social issues. But Professor Charlebois believes company leadership missed the mark on marketing and business strategies.
Frankly, we see it all the time in business is that often people are creators, they're innovators, but they're not necessarily good managers.
Still, Charlebois believes there's a way forward for the London plant under new management, noting that cricket production is inexpensive and can be achieved with far lower greenhouse gas emissions than other protein sources.
And it is a state-of-the-art plant, and to convert that plant into doing anything else would be extremely difficult and expensive.
Aspire also has a research and development arm in Austin, Texas. The London operation was opened in 2022. In November, leadership reported that staffing in London was cut from 150 employees to 50, with the goal of rehiring in July. A dozen vehicles were in the parking lot of the plant on Tuesday morning. We reached out to the receiver for information on the status of operations, but as of news time hadn't received a response. Jerry DeWan, CTV News.